Blaise Pascal, French philosopher and mathematician Blaise Pascal, who lived during the 1600s. This is something very important to keep in mind. It was a pretty different world back then in the 1600s. I'll have more to say about that in a moment. In his most important philosophical book, his Pensées, Pascal writes, "Let us consider the position of a prosperous king, with every possible satisfaction that can go with it." Now, quick stop here. Pascal, in this quote, he's going to present us. It's going to depict for us the perfect existential scenario, the ideal existential scenario, the perfect life that you could conceive, at least back in the 1600s, and that is the life of a king who is prosperous, who is rich, and he has everything he wants, basically, right? He can afford any pleasure, any joy. Let's continue reading. If this king has no distractions and is allowed to consider and reflect on what he is, in other words, if this king has the opportunity to examine himself, that fragile happiness will not sustain him. He will inevitably fall into thinking about situations which threaten him with rebellions, and finally about death and illnesses which are unavoidable. Okay, so we ask ourselves a why question at the end of the previous video, right? And this is what we're trying to answer here. The question was, why don't people examine themselves? Why do people know so little about themselves? And the answer that Pascal is giving us here, it's a two-part answer, right? But before I address the answer, I want to talk about something that it's implicit in the quote. And that is that when you examine yourself, you need to be with yourself. Okay? That it's not the same thing as being by yourself, because many people actually enjoy being by themselves. But being with yourself, okay, that's very different, because that means, and once again, this is implied in the quote, having no distractions, friends. No, if you're going to be with yourself, you need to have no music. You're not listening to music. You're not watching Netflix. You are not texting. You are not on social media. You are not shopping. To be with yourself, you need to be alone with your thoughts. Okay? Just you and your thoughts. Thoughts that manifest themselves as like an inner voice, or like the voice of your conscience, right? Or whatever way you want to put it. You're going to hear that voice speaking to you in your head when you are with yourself. Because obviously, if you are just listening to music, or you're just watching a movie, or just watching TikTok videos, I mean, you're not paying attention to what's going on, right, inside of you. I mean, you're just being entertained, being distracted. So that's very important, to really have the opportunity to examine yourself. Or if this is your goal, you want to examine yourself, okay, friends, then you have to be with yourself with no distractions. And the first part of the answer Pascal is offering us here is, people don't examine themselves because when they do, when they get to spend time with themselves, they're going to start feeling very uncomfortable. They're going to realize that there are many things in their life or your life that are not right. You're going to start feeling the weight of your existence. You're going to start becoming aware, very, very aware of your inadequacies. you're gonna get a really strong sense that your life is not great. And boy, who wants to feel that? Who wants to feel like, our lives is not great? But these things, friends, are going to manifest themselves in you. The awareness that, man, your life is not great. There's some things you're doing that are not correct. So let's use the example here that Pascal is giving us, right? The example of the rich, prosperous king. And this is very, very interesting because Pascal is saying that even in the ideal existential scenario, the perfect life, you're going to be confronted with this. You're going to have this problem, right? You're going to feel face to face with the reality of your condition, and that's not pleasant. So people are not going to engage in that kind of activity a whole lot. They're not going to seek that activity. But going back to the example, the king. Let's speculate a little bit about the king, right? If this king finds himself alone, he will most likely think about him not being the best king. Actually, he might start becoming aware of the fact that there's a lot of people in his kingdom, perhaps most of the people in his kingdom, his subjects, they're not really happy with him. And he's going to probably feel that he is quite tyrannical in his ways. Maybe even in his inner circle of friends, he's going to feel like he does not trust these friends a whole lot. And most likely it goes both ways. Like his friends do not trust him. So, and then what? And then the king is going to think about possible rebellions, right? This is what Pascal is telling us here, right? Situations which threaten him with rebellions. So now, let's say the king, he abuses alcohol and food, and he is not in the best physical shape. So he's alone with himself, and he's like looking at his belly, and he's like, man, I'm pretty overweight, and I cannot move very fast. And so he's going to fear the possibility that he might develop an illness, a condition, and he might end up dead because of this condition. So you see what I'm trying to say. Being with yourself, all these problems are going to manifest themselves to you. They're going to speak to you and speak very loud. And that's one reason why people don't examine themselves. You might want to try the experiment one day. Um, Now that I think about it, how about you, viewer, how about you set up a day, take a day off work and or from school and dedicate this day to just do nothing but spending time with yourself, with your thoughts. Um, it might be quite difficult for some of you. I'm honestly, now that I think about it, I have not met people who do this like purposely, but why not? I mean, in the end, if you feel that your life is not great, but the opposite, and you're trying to find an answer, okay, here's a great exercise you might want to try. See what, see if you can do this. Okay, if it's difficult to do it for a whole day, okay, try for a couple of hours, right? Couple of hours. Be in your room, no music, turn off your phone, turn off your devices, your television, and just be there alone with your thoughts. Okay, you might want to take a walk outside, right? And think. And I'm telling you, friends, this is an amazing thing. You definitely at the beginning, you're gonna start feeling um, these voices, right, telling you how inadequate you are. Like all the things that are wrong in your life are sort of gonna manifest themselves to you. But okay, but there's more to say about that point. So the first part of the answer Pascal offers us is well, it's people don't like examining themselves because these things happen. Okay, and that's not pleasant, right? Feeling like so inadequate and feeling the burden of our existence and feeling like our life, sucks. No, no, no. So the other part of the answer is, what do they rather do instead? Getting distracted. Getting distracted. Yes. So, yes, let's watch Netflix. Let's, watch TikTok videos. Let's go out with friends, right? Let's do fun stuff. Let's listen to music. Let's go shopping. Yeah, let's do all that good stuff, right? Back to tea today. So, but so that's what people rather do. Just be entertained and not confronting their inadequacies. But here's the problem with that attitude, friends. No matter how much you pursue fun and how much you try to be entertained and are actually being entertained, the reality of your condition will not change. The problem will still be there and you will still feel it. And it will have an impact in the quality of your life. And it's going to make you feel insecure. It's going to make you feel afraid of life, of opportunities, and you're going to feel so limited. So, okay, you might as well as just keep enjoying yourself, right? Keep entertaining yourself. But the problem will remain. You know, they have done several studies about the use or abuse of social media and the relationship this has with depression. There's a very interesting correlation there, or maybe not interesting, I should say alarming correlation. So if you spend a lot of time in social media, you are very likely, and this has been done, right? These studies, you are very likely to find yourself depressed or to develop depression. So that's quite deceptive, friends. This idea of having fun when you have some things to figure out, when you have some problems to fix. Now, Pascal has more to say about this particular point. This is why, Pascal continues, this is why we like noise and activity so much. This is why the pleasure of being alone, it's incomprehensible. Like, what? Like, really? You enjoy being with yourself? Well, you know what? Only 3 days ago, I um, I was just having a difficult time preparing this new lesson, right, for one of my classes. I said in my introduction, I teach at a college in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was just having a difficulty just trying to how I was going to present the ideas and that sort of thing. And I was stuck. And I told my wife, I said, honey, I need to go out for a walk because I have a problem to fix. I had an answer, a why question to answer that was, why can I put together this lesson? What's wrong? And she said, okay. So I took a walk. 45 minutes later, I came back and I was fired up. I was like, yes. And I told her, honey, I have it all figured out. I know how I'm gonna present my lesson, and that's a great thing. Being with yourself and being able to figure out things. I told you in the previous video, we philosophers believe that the answer to the most important why questions that you're going to come across, there you're going to find them within yourself. Like, really, that this is absolutely true. Probably the problem is that you have never give it a shot, um, because you don't like being with yourself. You prefer being by yourself and your music and your entertainment. But okay, another very important point here about the pleasure of being alone being incomprehensible is that, and this is something that Pascal did not does not address in this quote, in the fact that most people, I would say most people, when they find themselves alone with themselves, they get bored. Actually, in one day in class, I told my students about it. I said, how about, you spend some time with yourself? And students were like doing nothing, like you cannot even listen to music. No, you can't do any of that. Oh man, that's boring, he said. Boring. How interesting. So is it boring spending time with yourself? Well, that speaks very strongly about you don't liking yourself a whole lot, don't liking your life a whole lot. I mean, think about it. Like, see yourself as a different person, right? Um, and and you are this person you don't want to spend time with. You just don't. You rather do anything or spend time doing any other thing except spending time with yourself, with this person, that it's you. That's weird, right? Like, really? You just don't like yourself? And friends, some people, right? They even say it openly that they hate their lives, they hate themselves. And it's sad that it's so common. So, okay, so that's another reason, okay, why people don't examine themselves, because that implies spending time with yourself. And number one, that is not great, because it's uncomfortable, to say the least, facing your inadequacies. It's not pleasant. So who wants that? And number two, people find it boring. And people prefer to just be entertained, be distracted. Okay, continuing with the quote. This is why a king is surrounded by people whose only thought, whose only goal is to entertain him and prevent him from thinking about himself. King though he might be, even though he enjoys this beautiful, ideal, perfect existential situation, he is unhappy if he thinks about himself. Now, how ironic. And boy, existentialism, it's full of irony. Not that existentialism in itself is ironic, but existential thinkers are masters at depicting the many ironies of life. And here's a big one. Actually, we considered one already. The irony that we don't know ourselves a whole lot, despite the fact that nobody should know about ourselves better than we are, right? I mean, we have the best insight into our own lives than anybody can have, right? So we should know more about ourselves than anybody, but we don't. So that's ironic. But the irony in this quote and in this example of the ideal existential scenario, the king, the prosperous king, it's a huge irony, and that is that, friends, we are those kings today. As a matter of fact, we are in a much better, in a much more privileged position compared to kings in the 1600s. We are. We are. You might not be aware of it, but we are. We live in a privileged condition that is unbelievable. For example, think about all the things that electricity and technology have given us, right? The powers that we have acquired. Powers, yes. Let's say it's winter, it's cold outside, but you know what? You feel cold in your place, your apartment or home, and you go up to the thermostat and you adjust the thermostat to the right temperature. So the environment inside your home, it's perfect. It's ideal. Now, picture in your mind somebody from the 1600s and tell him that you can't adjust the temperature in your home. They're going to go like, are you out of your mind? Nobody can do that. Are you a god? But we do, right? We have that power. We enjoy that amazing luxury in our lives. Well, many of us, I'm sure, especially in this part of the world, in the Americas and most of the West. And kings in the 1600s? No way. They didn't have that. So they had to just put on a lot of coats and jackets and that sort of thing. But not us. We don't have to do that. We have access to nice, clean, warm water 24/7. You want to take a shower? Just jump anytime and you're going to find nice, clean, warm water. Kings in the 1600s, they didn't have that. To take a bath, I mean, that required a lot of work and a lot of people putting together a bath for the king. And yeah, that was not like the king would not just snap his fingers and have a instantly like a nice, warm, clean water available. They didn't, but we do. So that's another privilege, right? Now, think about also, gosh, I mean, there's so many things. Um, the level of entertainment, my friends, the level and the quality of our entertainment, it's mind blowing compared to kings in the 1600s. Like for a king in the 1600s to be entertained, like watching a show or something, a play, right? He had to go to a theater. And okay, so and that was quite a journey at times, or he had to get his whatever his guards ready, and he had to plan it out, and he had to make sure that the theater was safe, and actors and you have to wait till the day the actors were ready to perform, and or he would have to make arrangements so the actors would come to his palace and or castle and put together a show, and that requires a lot of work and time, right? Setting up a stage. And friends, we don't have to wait to be entertained to watch a great show. You know what? All we need is this, right? Any time of the day, we can wake up in the morning, turn on our phones, start up the Netflix app, and start watching amazing shows, amazing acting, amazing special effects, amazing places. We can know about any place in the planet, right? Kings didn't do that. They didn't have that in the 1600s. Boy, that ideal existential scenario, that's our scenario, that's our life. And yet, and yet, people feel so miserable today. And yet, there is a true epidemic of depression in our country, in our world. We have all these luxuries, we have all this comfort, and we feel terribly unhappy. Not just unhappy, we think there's something wrong with us psychologically. That the chemistry in our brain or something is just not right. It's not working correctly like it should, because we feel so sad. We feel so afraid of the world. How interesting. Um, so, excuse me. Oh, this the tea is delicious. So, pretty ironic, don't you think? Now, so once again, that's the answer to the question. Why don't people examine themselves? I think you see it clearly now, right? It's because being with yourself, when in trying to examine yourself, you have to be with yourself in that it's not pleasant, because you sort of feel the weight of your existence, your inadequacies, all that stuff. Not pleasant. And because it's boring. Oh, boring. Just doing nothing, just nothing. No, you can't do anything if you want to be with yourself. Oh man, that's boring. Okay. Um, and finally, people they rather be entertained. And yet again, the problems of your life won't go away. So I hope you're beginning to see what steps you should take, right, in improving and doing something about the problem of your existence. Now, I've been really, um, I don't know, negative or pessimistic in my videos. I hope you don't get the wrong impression here. Keep in mind that in this first lesson, just trying my best to depict the problem of existence, which is the title of our first lesson, right? And I want to make it very, very, very clear to you what the problem is. And but there's more to say about the problem of existence. We're not done with the first lesson. I'm done with this video. So for now, I'm going to say goodbye. But I want you, I really hope you continue watching. Um, we are not done unpacking the problem of existence. And I promise you, friends, there'll be good stuff, like really positive things uh, that you need to know so you can finally completely figure out this problem, and you can live much better, meaningful lives with sustained joy. That's the goal of these lessons. So I hope you join me in the next video. And we're not going to finish with a why question this time, but there's something very, very important I want to talk to you about. So I hope you join me. And once again, if you feel like these videos are interesting, important to you, or making a difference, I hope, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you in a little bit.